Welcome back, everybody. RC here for Photography Tips and Tricks, your show for gear tips, inspiration, anything that you need to take your photography over to the next level. Now, I wanted to start off this week to kind of address something that I did on Facebook. People were asking questions about it. I'll give you the backstory, and I'm going to talk to you about what I carry in my pocket in terms of the Olloclips. So my daughter has a snail kit, right? So she's in pre-K, and she went to school and they gave her a snail that's just probably about the size of, let's say, my pinky, right? They said, this is a good pet. Apparently they are, right? So I got a little kit about this big, right? Not very big, a little glass container, and the snail's been living there. I think his name is Fluffy now. But we got up one morning and all of a sudden Fluffy had babies. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about snails, but something this big laid about, I want to say 60 different ones. So now I've got these teeny tiny things just kind of running around, running in and running out of this little container. Some of them even escaped. Wife was not pumped about that. But we wanted to make some pictures and we thought that it was really cool. And to do that, like a lot of the times I'm a big fan of carrying Olloclips with me, right? So I always just kind of throw this one in my pocket. I don't have the other one on it, but usually there's two of these on it, right? So there's a fisheye and a wide angle, and then if you take these off, they do macros. But it just wasn't giving me enough range for what I wanted to do, and I figured why not talk to you guys about mobile photography and talk about macro at the same time. This is one of those jobbies that I'm using now. So it's from Olloclip, and they have an Olloclip Macro 3-in-1. And basically the way it works, right, this is for the iPhone, and it has 3 different setups. It has a 7X, 14X, and a 21X, which I thought was kind of neat, right? So look at, this is the way it works, right? So this is the actual unit. We'll go ahead and we'll just slide it onto the phone, right? Thought it was kind of neat. Now, this front one that we have here, that's the 7X, right? If you take this off, unscrew it, now it's 14X. So leave it on, 7X, and you can just kind of get really close, unscrew it, 14X. If you take this and you flip it, right, actually it would be this way, right, so it's facing this way. Then if you flip it from here, this guy's 21X, and they're labeled on the side. It's pretty easy for you to be able to figure out. But it's one of those things that I know that there's people out there that are interested in macro photography and are people interested in mobile photography. I was like, rather than just always deal with DSLRs and big cameras and this, can you get cool shots out of your phone, right? So I actually carry this with me in my book bag, right? So this is an eye stabilizer. I have this kind of set up here, right? Eye stabilizer flex, right? I think it's maybe 20 bucks, probably. Let's take a look. We'll go over here for smartphones. Let me see, it's this guy here, $29.95. So $29.95 plus the macro lens, all right? Now, let's take a look at what the micro lens is so that you guys know. $69, all right, so about 90 bucks, I wanna say maybe $100, you're into the kit. Now, you grab this, I'm gonna connect this to here, and before I do anything, I mean, I really do wanna kind of show you what it's going to look like because I think it's gonna be a neat, way to kind of just show you guys what's going on here. You're taking a look at my phone. Now, I'll go ahead and I'm gonna set this really low. And what happens here when you're working with this is you're gonna get to a spot where you're not gonna be able to see the picture, right? So like that looks okay, right? But I want more, I want closer. And when you get closer and closer and closer, look, you can't do it, right? Not good. Enter the macro. I'm gonna take off this little dome, this frosted dome. I'm gonna pull this back up, and now I'm gonna put in 7X. So now your job is to kind of get this into a spot where it's going to focus and go, all right, well, that'll be kind of cool. Take a look there. Not bad, pretty good. So what does 14X look like? We'll go ahead and we'll grab this and we're gonna unscrew this off. We're gonna move it to a spot where we can get it to actually focus. Now watch this. We switch, we go to 21. At 21, I mean, you're seeing an incredible amount of detail. Let's go into this little nut. That is a lot, and I'm just gonna turn this up here. A lot of detail. I can't even find it. Where are you, buddy? There you are. Now, once I have that set up and I've got the focus exactly the way that I want it, there you go. Snap the picture, snap the picture. But here's the problem. When you're doing that like that, it is impossible for you to kind of keep this straight as you need it. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll set up this eye stabilizer. I'll open this up, I'll spin this around and make sure that I can get this tipped as low as I need it to go. Once I have it there, then I'll go ahead and I'll clip it in and I'll take the shot. So these legs get moved around and set into a specific location so I can go, okay, there's the shot. There we go, right there. I'll move it down. I'll get it right in that one section. Now, once I have it right there, that's the shot. And I'm gonna make the picture. Now, because you're working with something that's macro, it is going to go in and out of focus very, very quickly. So what you need to do is you need to be able to figure out how to best get it in that one specific spot. And once you have it in that one specific spot for the shot that you want, then you can kind of tap to focus a specific area. You say, all right, well, that's the area that you want. If you need to be able to get closer into it so that you can get it, you can move right into the area and say, okay, that's the spot that you're looking for. Now, at this point, it's probably looking to go in just a little bit more than I have it, right? So this is actually very hard to try to do watching the screen. So let's get, there we go. If I just pay some attention to what I'm doing on this side. Look at how much it moves in and out of focus based on that. So the touches are ever so slight to get what you need. Now it's in focus, right? A little bit of work, a tiny, tiny, tiny screw. Imagine having to do all of that work, try to get all of those details, and the slightest movement messes it up for you. So this is where I recommend this, your headphones. You don't want to start tapping that screen to be able to do anything. So in this case, I'm just going to plug in my headphones. Obviously, it's going to mess up my exposure again. But now, once I've plugged it in, I'm going to tip it and get it exactly where I want it. We have the headphone plugged in. I don't have to worry about doing much of anything. All I have to do is just hit this, and this becomes pretty much my cable release. So all I'm doing now is just click. So watch. Click, take a picture, click, take a picture, click, take a picture. And that's it. Now, how hard was that? You wouldn't be able to focus that on a normal phone just using the regular phone lens, and we're talking about something this big, right? Extremely, extremely, extremely small. You could fit several of them on my nail, right? So really, really close-up photography. Now, to give you an idea of some general scale, I'll go ahead and I want to show you this. This is a penny. This has 2 snails on a penny, on the head of a penny. With that Olloclip, that's the level of detail that we were working with. So that's a penny. They're not even covering a whole face of that. So if you want to take a look at more information like that, this is something that you can do with flowers or plants in parks, and you can carry it in your pocket. Sometimes it's all about just having it available to you and not making it so complex. I'm a big fan of it. I carry them with me everywhere, and I think that they're really good. Make sure you go to olloclip.com. You can find out more information on the lens. And look, we're going to give you guys this one. One of you guys is going to win it. So when we come back, we've got Pete Collins talking to us about some photography in zoos and your chance to win the Olloclip Macro right here.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I just got back recently from a trip to Alaska where I was able to go do some great photography at some different zoos, and I thought I'd share with you some of my tips for getting some good animal photography. We can't always go on safari and do some other things, but zoos are a great way to practice figuring out how to shoot animals and get some really unique looks. So I just want to share with you a few things going on. First, I want to show you a couple pictures if we jump to my computer. These shots are all taken at the zoo, and they're taken usually in small, fairly close-up, confined spaces. But the key is going to be to make sure that either you're going to highlight it, such as with this giraffe. Obviously that background's not natural, but I'm going more after the expression than trying to make it look like I'm out on safari. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot it in such a way that the enclosure kind of disappears. And I'm going to talk about in a second. But the number one thing that you're going to want to do no matter what you do is you're trying to give the viewer a different look of this animal that they wouldn't normally see when they go to the zoo. And so how are you going to do that? Well, one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get to know the animal that you're trying to shoot. And I don't mean you spend 14 days camped out at the zoo staring at this one animal, but you go observe what that animal is doing. Is that animal pacing in its pen? And if he is, or she is, figure out what's the best angle to catch that animal. Because they tend to, unfortunately, the way things go in zoos, is they tend to kind of have a routine or a pace. Well, you need to figure out what that is, and you can get set up and be ready to take the shot when that animal comes into that space. It's kind of like you're preemptively getting set up for it. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out what is the best way to interact with that animal if they are able to see you, so that they're able to kind of create that eye contact. Because just like a person, you really do want to capture the portrait of that animal, and that usually almost always involves getting the eyes and that relating to that animal. If we look at this gorilla, I spent a couple hours with that gorilla, and he eventually started paying attention to the fact that I was there, and we were able to kind of create this little bond of playing around with each other, and I got some great expressions from that. That's not always the case, but sometimes those little snippets of happiness happen, and you're really trying to create a portrait of that animal rather than just trying to get a snapshot of that animal. Anybody can do that. Here's another one in a little bit bigger enclosure, but the whole thing is there wasn't a lot of room where I was shooting. I actually had to shoot over a fence, but I was always trying to get something with some expression, some action going on there that takes the picture from just being a snapshot to something that has a story behind it. Same thing with this shot here. I'm actually shooting over a plexiglass wall to get this shot. This is where you kind of really have to know your camera and know your gear to be able to do that. And that's really where you're going to need probably a longer lens than just going with a normal wide-angle lens to be able to shoot through the fence, shoot through the barriers. This was shot through a chain-link fence, and that's one great thing about having a zoom lens. Suddenly you can shoot and that chain-link fence disappears. So if you're going to go to the zoo, think about getting a little bit longer lens to be able to punch through and get those up-close and personal shots. Finally here, if we go back to the whole eyes thing, I really like this shot, but you can tell that the tiger is kind of looking down to my right. Look at the visual impact that shot has versus that shot. Even though this is a nice shot right here, it doesn't have that same impact as that does right there. So once again, you're taking a portrait of these animals, so you really need to set yourself up in such a way that you're able to get the action and the focus of that animal. And when you do it, when you figure it out, you'll go from a nice shot like this to a very intriguing shot of that animal right there. So the whole thing is, when you're going to the zoo, it's not just about capturing and getting as many great shots as you can, but really planning out, figuring out what's going on and knowing how you can get that animal the best. A final tip that I'd leave you with is, if you have a zoo in your area, get to know the workers. They're going to be your best resource to be able to know when the animals are active, where the best angle is, and maybe if you get to know them well enough and produce some good shots, you'll befriend them and they might be able to give you some better access to the animals. So that's just kind of a couple quick tips I'd like to give you. Go out there, have a great time, learn about shooting these animals, and have a great time at the zoo. That's all I have for now. We're going to throw it back over to RC for some more of photography tips and tricks.
Welcome back, everybody, to Photography Tips and Tricks. RC here now. Richard Sylvester on Facebook had asked the question about how to set his D90 camera on Auto FP high-speed sync. So basically, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. What is it, right? When you're working with flash on a camera, what happens is you have a limit at which you can sync the flash with the camera. So you'll take a shot and the flash will illuminate a subject, right? But when you get up to about 250th of a second, the shutters are closing so fast that they're faster than the light that you have. So when you try to shoot it, that shutter is closing as soon as it's opened, and you'll start seeing these black bars that will appear on your picture. So that's not a good thing. So that means that you can't go past 250th of a second. Now, on Nikon cameras, you have the option to be able to use high-speed sync. Now, Canon cameras and other cameras have that as well, but his question was specific to the D90, so we figured we'd answer that. So you have to set your camera to Auto FP high-speed sync. This is going to vary from camera to camera, but it's actually very easy for you to find. On your camera menu, you'll see something that'll look like this. So go into the pencil menu, and inside of the pencil menu, you'll almost always see a section that says Flash Sync Speed. Sometimes, and I think that in your instance, specific instance with the D90, you will see a new E5. You'll see one that says Auto FP. Just make sure that that's turned to on if it is not on. Now, for later models than that, you'll see this section right here. You'll see something called a flash sync speed. More often than not, if you have it set to 1/250th of a second and you're using a flash, it won't go any higher than that. If you're using a trigger and you're off triggering it, right, and you're using it somewhere else, so you have it off camera, then you'll start seeing that black bar. If you want to use high-speed sync, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select one of these options here that says anything 250th and higher, kick on your Auto FP sync. Anything that's 320 or higher, kick off the Auto FP. That's it. It's just a menu change inside of your camera and you're good to go. So just wanted to make sure that we covered most of that stuff. If you want to follow along and you want to leave me anything on my end, you could always just go to facebook.com/aboutrc. I'm always answering questions there. You can also go to Kelby1 online. Go to facebook.com, Kelby1 online. This is another place where we'll listen to a lot of the things that you have to say and try to answer your questions. So for the Peach Pit ebook deal, you can get 40% off of this e-deal. Run and Gun Lighting Research by Nick Fancher. This is all you have to do. Just go to peachpit.com/Kelby1 and enter in the code Kelby1. You get 40% off of that book. Thank you so much to Peach Pit for that. Now, contest time. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go to the webcast section on our website. Make sure that you go to kelby1.com, and on the kelby1.com section, select the webcasts. So go into that one section, right? Let's go ahead and show you where that is. It's in the More area. Under the More section, you go over there and you go to webcasts. Go under the webcast section. There's tons of different things that you could watch, but the one that we want you to watch is Photography Tips and Tricks. Go to the Photography Tips and Tricks section. Inside of there, you're going to be looking for episode 69. It is not 68, that was last week. 69 is what you're looking for. Go all the way down to the bottom, and inside of there, you want to submit a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you want to see. These are the things that we want to know from you. One of you guys is going to win the Olloclip 3-in-1 macro lens. You will also win these two books right here. You're going to win Critiqued, Inside the Minds of 23 Leaders in Design by Christina Beard, and my copy of the HDR book. So thank you very, very much to Peach Pit for providing these things. I'm in love with my own book. I know. It's just, I was very happy for that, and I'm very, very happy to be able to share it with all of you guys. This is a great book on design, and you can go out shooting with the Olloclip. So that pretty much wraps it up for this week. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. We'll see you guys here next week on Photography Tips and Tricks. Take care.